Good afternoon. I'm your host, and welcome to Kenya News Update today. In a political bombshell that could reshape the nation's political landscape, former Attorney General and Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi has issued a stunning ultimatum to President William Ruto. Muturi is threatening to expose what he calls state house secrets from the 2022 general election if he perceives any attempts to manipulate the upcoming 2027 polls. This is a story about power, betrayal, and the hidden mechanics of Kenyan politics. We begin our 12-minute deep dive with the explosive claim itself. Justin Muturi, speaking at a private gathering in Murang'a County last Friday, March 6, 2026, stated, and I quote, "Remember, I had said it before, I have got information about that weekend of July 5th and 6th last year, when we secured the presidency. If you try to play games with 2027, I will tell the country everything." The date he references, July 5th and 6th, 2022, falls just days before the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the IEBC, formally declared William Ruto the winner of the presidential election on August 15, 2022. Muturi's implication is clear. He possesses insider knowledge about critical, undisclosed events during that pivotal weekend that secured Ruto's path to State House. To understand the gravity of this threat, we must examine Justin Muturi's political journey. He served as Speaker of the National Assembly from 2013 to 2022, a period spanning the final term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. In June 2022, as the election campaign heated up, Muturi made a dramatic political shift. He resigned as Speaker and joined William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza coalition, specifically the Democratic Party. He was subsequently appointed as the coalition's chief agent for the presidential election. In this role, he was the legal point person, the man responsible for overseeing the tallying process at the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya. He had a front row seat to every dispute, every Form 34A and 34B, and every conversation at the highest level. After Ruto's victory, Muturi was rewarded with the powerful position of Attorney General, a post he held until a cabinet reshuffle in late 2025 saw him move to the Ministry of Water, Sanitation, and Irrigation. Political analysts suggest this demotion, from the heart of legal and executive power to a service ministry, planted the seeds of the current rift. So what could these secrets possibly be? Muturi has not provided specifics, but his reference to the weekend of July 5th and 6th offers a clue. Let's revisit the timeline. The official election date was August 9th, 2022. Polling, counting, and the transmission of results occurred over the subsequent days. The period Muturi mentions, July 5th to 6th, 2022, was approximately 5 weeks before the election. This was deep in the campaign period. Speculation from political insiders points to several possibilities. First, high-level strategy meetings at Ruto's official residence in Karen or at State House itself, involving discussions on campaign financing, coalition building with smaller parties, and last-minute defections from the rival Azimio, La Umoja coalition. Second, potential agreements or promises made to key individuals, including regional kingpins and business magnates, in exchange for their support. Third, and most sensitive, discussions about the preparedness and potential influence over electoral institutions ahead of the vote. A source within the United Democratic Alliance, who spoke on condition of anonymity, suggested Muturi may be referring to a specific meeting where the final campaign war chest was assembled. The budget for the final month was unprecedented, the source said. We are talking about a mobilization fund exceeding 15 billion shillings. Muturi was in the room when those commitments were made. We reached out to State House for comment. Spokesperson Hussein Mohammed dismissed Muturi's threats as the rantings of a disgruntled former official. In a written statement, Mohammed said, President Ruto's victory in 2022 was free, fair, and transparent, upheld by the Supreme Court of Kenya. The focus of the administration is on delivering the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, not on entertaining fiction from those who have failed to find relevance in the continuing journey of transformation. The statement did not address the specific allegations about the July 2022 weekend. Meanwhile, reactions from political allies have been mixed. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, often seen as a rival power center to Muturi within the MT. Kenya region politics has remained conspicuously silent. Other UD stalwarts like Secretary General Cleophas Malala have rallied behind the president, calling for party discipline. However, whispers from some MPs suggest a degree of anxiety. If Muturi talks, he doesn't just implicate the president, he implicates the entire system that delivered victory, One MP from the Rift Valley told us off the record. Many of us were part of that machinery. What he knows could affect everyone. Let's analyze the potential impact. Muturi's threat comes at a delicate time for President Ruto. His administration is grappling with economic headwinds. The latest figures from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics show inflation has eased to 5.2%, but public debt remains a concern, standing at approximately 11.4 trillion shillings. The president's approval rating, according to a recent InfoTrack poll, sits at 58%, a decline from the 65% recorded 6 months ago. Within his own Kenya Kwanza coalition, there are visible cracks, particularly regarding succession politics ahead of 2027. Muturi's threat is not just about the past, it's a weapon aimed at the future. By claiming he can expose the origins of Ruto's power, he positions himself as a guardian of political integrity for 2027, especially within their shared MT, Kenya region voter base. This could be a play for relevance, a bargaining chip for a better position, or the opening salvo in a new political alignment. Some observers believe Muturi may be laying the groundwork to support a different candidate in 2027, potentially even aligning with elements of the opposition. We now turn to our panel for expert perspective. First, Dr. Wanjiku Kabira, Professor of Political Science at the University of Nairobi. Dr. Kabira, what's your read on Muturi's endgame? Thank you. This is classic Kenyan political brinkmanship. Muturi is holding a potential incendiary device. His goal is likely twofold. First, to ensure he is not sidelined in the 2027 election calculations. He wants a seat at the table, perhaps as a running mate or a guarantee of a senior cabinet post. Second, and more profoundly, he is signaling to the MT, Kenya region that he possesses leverage over the president. If Ruto is perceived as planning to pick a deputy from outside the region in 2027, Muturi's secrets become a tool to enforce regional loyalty. The reference to July 2022 is specific and deliberate. It suggests documented evidence, minutes, recordings, or financial records, not just hearsay. Next, we have Martin Andati, senior political editor at The Star. Martin, what are the legal implications if Muturi does leak this information? The legal terrain is murky. If the information pertains to alleged criminal activity, say, conspiracy to commit election offenses or massive corruption in campaign financing, then Muturi, as a former attorney general, could be accused of having concealed a crime. However, if it's merely about political strategy and hardball negotiations that, while unsavory, were not illegal, then it becomes a political scandal, not a legal one. The real risk for the government is reputational. It could shatter the narrative of the hustler who fought the system and won fairly. It could validate the opposition's long-held claims that the 2022 election was stolen in boardrooms before a single ballot was cast. That damage would be immense. Finally, let's consider the historical context. Kenya has seen similar episodes of insiders turning on the establishment. The most famous parallel is the 2006 whistleblower, David Muniake, who exposed the Anglo leasing scandal. More recently, the fallout from the 2017 election saw key figures from both sides make startling revelations. But Muturi's case is unique because of his proximity to power. He wasn't a mid-level accountant or a disgruntled backbencher. He was the chief agent and later the government's principal legal advisor. His credibility, therefore, is significantly higher. If he produces tangible evidence, audio recordings, bank transfer records, or signed memoranda, it would be very difficult for State House to dismiss. So where does this leave us? The immediate next steps are a waiting game. Will President Ruto's team reach out to Muturi for a quiet reconciliation? Will they attempt to discredit him more aggressively? Or will they call his bluff, daring him to speak? For his part, Muturi has not set a public deadline. He has simply cast the threat into the political atmosphere. The pressure will now build within the corridors of power. Every political move by the president regarding 2027 will be scrutinized through the lens of Muturi's warning. The stability of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, which brought together over 15 parties, could be tested if factions begin to worry about what might be revealed. In conclusion, Justin Muturi's threat to expose 2022 State House secrets is more than just political gossip. It is a seismic event that threatens to rewrite the official history of how William Ruto ascended to the presidency. It exposes the fragile nature of political alliances in Kenya and highlights how personal ambition and perceived slights can trigger existential crises for governments. Whether this ends in a negotiated silence or a spectacular public revelation, one thing is certain: the road to the 2027 general election has has just become infinitely more complicated. The ghosts of July 2022 are now knocking on the door of State House. For Kenya News Update today, I'm your host. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for continuing coverage of this developing story.